Right now.
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 Because it's time to right now.
Right now.
Right
Right
now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because it's time to right now.
Right now.
Right
now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because it's time to right now.
Welcome, my friends, to another daily writing live stream. I'm your host, Kaufman, and today we got a couple things going on with the community, so this will be super exciting. Today is officially developmental day for the Freaky Friday competition, and we're also going to get in a writing sprint. So we're going to be doing a couple things today. So what I'm going to be doing, I will be kicking this off with a 45-minute writing sprint. Wanted to get a little bit of work in on Scarecrow today, make sure I could get in a little bit of writing. That's what I'll be doing. And at the same time, I'll also be kicking off in the Discord the sign-up process for our Freaky Friday flash fiction competition. If you haven't started working on a story, you're missing out. We have some exciting stuff going on for the community. I'll pull up the documents here. That way you guys can see all the cool pictures. All right, here we go. So we got right over here. So for our Freaky Friday competition, if you are not already working on a story, this is our third writing competition and our second annual Freaky Friday. Essentially, this is a flash fiction competition. Essentially, the way it works is there's going to be live readings of your story. It's a flash fiction story, 1,000 to 2,000 words. Your story is going to be judged on two things: readability. We want to make sure that, minimize the spelling errors, the grammar. That way we can get through it without any problems. And then it will also be judged on the genre element. The top 12 stories are going to be published. So we will be accepting all submitted stories for the live stream itself. And then the top 12 stories are going to be chosen when the anthology gets published shortly after the competition. And then here are your options. So here's what you can write in. You have 4 different options. You can write in the supernatural genre, where you're going to create a creature type. You can write in the thriller horror genre, where you're going to create a mystery or a twist. Or you can write in the dark fantasy genre, where you have to create a dark magic system. So these are the 3 main genres. Now, if you want to tackle the special challenge prize, which this is like the advanced mode, if you really want to challenge yourself, you can write a story that combines all 3 genre elements. This is hard to do in a 1,000 to 2,000 word flash fiction story. So that's why this is definitely a special challenge prize. So this challenge prize is going to be determined and decided during the competition itself, during the live stream. So we'll see just how many people sign up for the special challenge prize, but I highly encourage you, absolutely sign up for it. So Freaky Friday is going to be quite a lot of fun. I know I am looking forward to it. It'll be at the end of the month in just a couple of weeks. Now, for anybody who wants to sign up today for Developmental Day, here is how it's going to work out. Essentially, make sure that you're a member in the Discord, the Right Now Discord. If you're not already, the link to sign up is down in the YouTube description down below. I'm going to post in just a few minutes a sign-up sheet, a sign-up list in the Freaky Friday channel. It's like I had. Okay, there we go. I was like, I knew I had something. So I'm going to create a sign-up list in the Freaky Friday channel. Essentially, if you want to sign up, this is your chance to be able to get one-on-one developmental feedback for your Freaky Friday submission. We will you're basically going to be able to sign up. This will be a one-on-one video call that we'll do through Discord. You will be able to do one of two things. We can either screen share your story and you can read it aloud to me, and then we can kind of discuss after. Or if you're like, you know what, I don't really need to go through the story word by word. I need to think, I want to focus on some more of the big picture items. We could treat it as a brainstorming collaboration and talk through character, world building, or plot ideas. So those are going to be your two options. Each writer will receive about 15 to 30 minutes. It really depends on how many people sign up and the level of interest. I know we have a lot of writers working on stories in the community, so we'll see how many are interested in getting feedback and help for their stories. And then essentially all you have to do to sign up is you just reply to my Discord post. Once you reply, I will add your name to the list. Basically, I will reach out to you, we'll connect, and once I'm done with our story, once I'm done with our time, I'll give probably like a 5-minute heads up in the Discord chat for whoever is next up in the list. The list is first come, first serve, so make sure to reply to that Discord post, which I'm about to throw out there, and that's how we'll do it. So we'll see just how many writers we can help out today. That's what I got for you, my friends. And we're going to hop into a writing sprint. First, I want to make sure to try to get some writing in for Scarecrow before I hop into Freaky Friday. So that's what I'm going to do. And by the way, Kara, I saw you hop in here. That's awesome. You said you're working on something like your 4th iteration of a possible entry. Even if you don't finish it in time, you still like what's happening with it. Kara, I'm so sorry that you've been dealing with, it sounds like you've been dealing with some real tough things this year. I'm really hoping that you're able to make the progress that you want to. And I really appreciate you having you around the community, my friend. Hoping that we're able to kind of help motivate each other, especially on the days where we're just not feeling it or we're dealing with crazy life. So, with that being said, we're going to hop into our first writing sprint. As you can see, I have it all queued up on my end. I'll make sure to throw up that Discord post for Developmental Day first. That way people can start signing up. And that's what we got. I want to sign up, but I just got called into work. Oh no, Vomika, that's the worst. I'm so sorry. Well, you can you can try to sign up and you can see if I'm still online later after work, depending on how long you have to work for. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. We can always like hop on maybe like a call. Yeah. Maybe if you take a break, we can hop onto like a phone call if I'm not busy with somebody else. I'm sorry about that, Mom, because that's the worst, getting called into the work at the last second. Well, definitely let me know, Vom, if you want to, if you're able to like hop into a con maybe one of your breaks or after you get off. I'm not sure how late I'll be going, kind of just playing it by ear. So I'm not really sure what level of interest there is. But yeah, so on that note, as you can see, I have my writing software all set up. And we got 45 minutes on the clock. We're going to do one writing sprint to see just what we can accomplish. But I'm all ready. So whether you are writing, editing, revising, brainstorming, or something in between, come join us because it's time to write now. All right, and that is the writing sprint. Were you able to get some progress on your story? Hopefully you're able to make some progress. I feel like a 45-minute sprint always feels like a good time. I was able to push a little bit further into that chapter. I think I am getting like a good enough vibe with it. Once again, it's like it's kind of like supposed to be like a low, it's like a transition chapter, right? But it has to show that need to show that they're traveling. Yeah, I think it works. I'm trying to build up some tension between these characters that wasn't really as existent in the rough draft. Let's see. How many words did you get? I would love to hear it. Drop a comment. It looks like I got. So I think I did about revision of about 650 words. It looks like. So nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. How about you? What did you get? Hey, what's up, connection? You're like, what's with the AI pics in the corner? Or are they not AI? They look AI. Oh, you were talking about the graphics. Yeah, you were probably talking about the graphic. Yeah, you're probably talking about these things. I kind of do a mix. I would say AI pics. I'd say probably like half of them are AI. It's probably like a mix of, I would say like it's a mix of like half of them are probably AI and half of them are stock footage. So it's kind of a combination. I don't know. I've like gone back and forth on what I put there. I've like tried to come up with different ideas on like, well, I feel like I should show like something visual. I think sometimes I'll show the Last Scarecrow inspiration image. Sometimes I'll show like the map. I've just gone back and forth on what I've wanted to share there. So it's just kind of something more for visual than anything else. Good question, though. Nice, Lynn. 748 words. Bazinga. That sounds great. So you finished the cover for your story. That sounds like some good progress. Excellent. Connection. You're like, guys, mine is currently at 12,128, but I just joined the stream. Heck yeah, sounds like you're making some awesome progress, my friend. That's actually really, really cool. I think 12,000 is definitely a good place to be at. I'm really curious, connection, how long your stories, how long like your goal is. Are you aiming for like a novella, or are you aiming for like a full-on like novel? I'm really curious. Scarecrow, I want to say that. Yeah, I think what's funny is I originally aimed Scarecrow to be 100,000 words. I aimed it to be 100,000. I want to say the draft ended at about 130,000. The rough draft ended at 130, and now the second draft is at about 160,000. Oh man, it'll be interesting to see how much draft 2 actually ends with. Oh man, at this rate, the draft's gonna end at like 200,000. That's gonna be a problem. Can actually like my problem with my current chapter is that the first couple mini chapters are pretty long, so I had to make the middle chapters a bit shorter. That makes sense. So it's kind of like figuring out some structuring. It sounds like. Ooh, whites here, nice. You're making some progress in whites here, especially for fantasy. I mean, fantasy genre averages tend to be about 90 to 120, I believe, for fantasy genre. So you're making some solid progress, whites here. Connection, like all my Sky stories are formatted into big chapters with around 10 mini chapters. Chapter 5, 5.1 up until 5.9. Well, that's super cool. I'm curious what would constitute for you like a big chapter compared to a mini chapter. I want to say it's interesting. When I think about structuring with format, or when I think about structuring with my book, The Last Scarecrow, and of course we're in a fantasy, so fantasy genre trends or standards. I think so Scarecrow's broken up into 4 acts. Act 1, I want to say the average chapter count is about 7 pages. It's probably about like 7 to 10 pages. Act 2, the average chapter count is about, it kind of ranges. It's like 10 to 20 pages. The earlier chapters tend to be about 10 to 15. And then once it starts getting longer into the midpoint, the chapters start being about 15 to 20. We'll see where with Act 3. Something tells me it's probably going to be somewhere in between those two. Kara, that's not a bad idea, though. You said you still like putting together a rough outline. You don't do detailed outlines with fiction, but I like to have a basic map. Yeah, and once again, I mean, I think that works. As we all know in the community, right, we have the 2 styles of writers, right? We have discovery writers, where discovery writers like to just hop straight into it and like to just explore the writing as they're going. And then we have the architects who like to do all the planning, the outlining, the brainstorming before they get started. A lot of the writers, I feel like, and this comes from the original plotters or pantsers, I feel like most writers aren't one or the other. I feel like most writers tend to fall in a spectrum of a mix between both. Lynn, you said, I still think you should split in half for publication. Find a cliffhanger, and then you can rapid release 2 books. That's definitely an idea, Lynn. I mean, I've thought about that. I've thought about a couple of different ideas, Lynn, because I mean, technically, like I said, Scarecrow's broken up into 4 acts, and I'm calling each act a book. So book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4. I mean, I've thought about I could launch it in 4 books. I could launch it in 2 books. I think those are definitely ideas. I think what my plan is, Lynn, is I need to get through the second draft. I think I want to get through the 3rd draft. So I'm going to do the second. I'm in the middle of the 2nd draft. The 3rd draft, I think, is going to be a much faster speed at it. I think my goal with draft 3 is to get through it in like a few weeks. And then I think once I'm through the 3rd draft, I think then I'll be able to have a better idea. Because right now at the end of draft 2, there's going to be a lot more wordiness. By going through it faster, I'm going to be able to figure out how much is excessive and if there's any parts and chapters I can cut out, because I need to have a better idea of the overall word count once the story is a sound. And then I'll make that determination. I'm like, okay, do I launch it as an epic or do I launch it in installments? I mean, like, I think it was, it might have been Soul who said, like, people would probably still be more down if I launched it in smaller books, but then also launch more like a special edition with the whole epic. And I mean, it's not a bad idea at all. I think the challenge right now, if I launched in smaller books, is even though it's broken up into different books, or even though it's like a 4-act structure, the overall story is from book 1 to book 4. Like, if I launch them as books, like I don't know if each book would feel like a standalone story. Each book would feel like it's like an act. So I'm not sure. It's interesting. I think I'm totally open to ideas, but I think it's an interesting idea. Okay, like I'm a planner with fiction, more of a planner with nonfiction, unless it's poetry based, in which case I'm pretty much a complete pantser. I totally feel you. Sometimes with genre, when we add different genres or different formats, kind of change. So I totally get that. For debuts, people prefer shorter, easier to get buy-ins from readers with unknown authors. Yeah, and that I do completely agree with. Right, because especially because this would be a debut novel for me. I recognize that if I launch a 130 to 150,000 word novel, the amount of new readers that I could potentially get is going to be lower, because I'm a debut author, right? Because it's readers are like, oh, well, less likely to want to take a chance. I actually totally understand that, and that is one of the reasons why the high word count is on the back of my mind. Connection. You're like, oh, another thing is that when I make them into actual books, I'm going to put them into collection bundles. So chapter 1 to 3 will be collection 1, 46 will be collection 2, 7 to 9 will be collection 3. Oh, that's not a bad idea. That's actually not a bad idea. Breaking it up into like smaller works like that. Kind of like similar to what people are telling me I should be doing with Scarecrow. What's up, Glorious? Welcome. We're just getting in some writing chat. White's here, like 100% a planner. Yeah, I was like, I think I fall somewhere in between the two of them. you're like trying to think of lore for Warcraft, headcanon lore, rewriting kind of stuff. Blizzard is terrible. I believe I can do better. I mean, Glorious, you probably can do better, but I think when we think about Blizzard, Warcraft, all those games, right? Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft. I think Blizzard, as the OG company, some of their storytelling was incredible, right? The core storylines for Diablo, StarCraft, and World of Warcraft were all really, really great storylines. I would say Warcraft 3 was probably one of my favorite storylines of all time because the Arthas storyline is just so. I really love the StarCraft storyline as well. But where Blizzard is at currently, they're just in a much like different place. I mean, they basically laid off 70% of their staff this year. So I mean, like most people can probably write a better story than where Blizzard's currently at right now. Fortunately, that company is not doing very well. Blizzard is not doing well. I still appreciate Blizzard for what they do, but new Blizzard is not doing very well, unfortunately. Hopefully they'll get a team together and figure out their new Blizzard will figure out something. Connection like me, but for Apex lore since Respawn just gave up on it. I've never actually played Apex. I've wondered if that was a good game. I think I've always been a Blizzard fan for the most part. I was like, online games. I was into League of Legends for a little while. But I think that's more because of the time. It's easier to hop into quick games like that when you're like super busy. Lynn, you said you're such a planner. My outline document for this book is 5,000 words. I totally feel you on that. I think what's my outline? So my story Bible for Scarecrow is 15,000 words. Yeah, so I was like, Lynn, that might be to both of us. I'm looking at my story Bible right now. It's 15,000 words. Oh man, I'm cracking myself up. I'm very wordy. Oh man, I mean, I've shown this story Bible before. You guys can all see. I showed the story Bible before. I know I did a story Bible session for the YouTube channel members. I'll probably be releasing that video at some point. I just launched what was the video? I just did the short story, the flash fiction story video last week. So I'll be doing the story Bible at some point next. But this is like the way that I organize my information. As you guys can see, this is just how I've broken it up. Outline, my blurb, cast characters, bios. This was my draft 3 to-do list, world building, and magic system. And of course, story Bibles change for every writer because it really depends on what the needs of your books are. But I think it's really helpful to have all of your information organization in one place. And these are just all the focuses, the things that I needed. Let's see. Here's all my character bios. Man, I haven't looked at some of these bios in a little while. So fun. I love my characters. Yeah, so that's my story Bible. Let's see. Glorious. You're like, oops, using curse words as adjectives is getting me. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in yesterday's critique stream too. Like, you can totally get away with using curse words as long as it's intentional, and it depends on the character. Sometimes some writers will overuse curse words, and it's just intentionality. And then also recognize that sometimes that curse language will put some readers off. You know, the Destiny, I played the first Destiny for a little while. I really enjoyed the first Destiny a lot. I just haven't played it in a while, but the first Destiny was fun. I like my son and his best friend have some choice words about Blizzard. I think a lot of the gaming community has choice words about Blizzard. Oh, Glorious, he said in the chat, message got blocked. Yeah, I think I have it set to block like certain like a curse language or certain things so that way people don't spam. So it probably just auto blocked it, in honesty. Can't wait for 2 weeks from now when you all get to experience peak grade 8-9, me writing. Definitely looking forward to a connection. Okay. All right, so definitely some really good conversations here, my friends. But let's turn focus to Freaky Friday. So once again, today is the development day for Freaky Friday. So make sure if you haven't started on your story for the Freaky Friday Flash Fiction competition, now's the time. The submission period closes next Sunday. So we have 1 week to focus on wrapping up those stories. Maybe you're working on a supernatural story. Maybe you're working on a thriller or horror. Or maybe you're working on a dark fantasy story. I'm really looking forward to seeing your stories. Today is developmental day for the Freaky Friday stories. So if you're wanting feedback on your Freaky Friday story, all you have to do is hop onto the Discord. I did a post over in the Freaky Friday channel and reply to the post. And you can sign up for a one-on-one spot with me today. So that way we can chat about your story, whether you want to talk through some developmental opportunities, or maybe you just want to share it and see how it sounds. So we will be doing that. I'll be online most of the day, and I'm really looking forward to see just what we have in store for today's stories. And with that being said, I'll be back tomorrow with another daily writing sprint stream. Probably sometime in the afternoon, late afternoon. We'll see how tomorrow feels. And that's what I got for you, my friends. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you for the conversation. I hope you were able to get a little bit of word writing in, a little bit of words. If you want to come join again, make sure to tap that follow or subscribe button if you're not already. And if you appreciate the stream, hit that like button. Help us show the algorithms that writing streams are cool. All right, my friends, that's all that I got for you. But unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. Words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. It's time to write.
Right now.
Sorry.
Right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now. Is that right?
Words are wind, but stories are forever.